This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 444 of the Stable Scoop Show. Please support our sponsors as they make this show possible.
Our sponsors this week are horselovers.com and the Fairfield Inn North in Lexington, Kentucky.
Welcome to the Stable Scoop, with weekly shows delivered right to you. With Helena and Glenn the Geek, live from the stable, it's every week. They bring you the news through hail or high water, while using their tails as their own fly swatters. So sit on down and laugh till you poop, cause it's time again for the Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. The Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop.
This is Glenn the Geek.
And this is Helena B. And you're listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network. Now, Glenn, it's raining here in Rhode Island, and it's pretty cold today. But I still can't say that we have better weather than you do in Florida.
No, it's 80 degrees and sunny.
All right. Damn, I brought it up. Well, it's been a really warm
You asked. I wasn't going to say anything.
It's been a very warm winter here. It's February 7th. We're taping this on February 7th. And this is probably the first chilly day where I've actually said, I'm going to stay inside today.
You know, I think what's happened this year, and I just noticed because there's another big snowstorm coming across the top of the country.
Oh, crap.
In years past, it's been the East Coast and the Northeast that have always gotten the big major storms, and then there would be snow out west, but not the constant storms that are coming across this year. So things have changed this year. You know, our friends that live in Michigan and the Dakotas and Iowa and all those states over there are the ones suffering this year. They're the ones buried in snow, Wisconsin and all of those northern states coming across. And then, of course, the lake effect snow people, they just get it every year. But
the Mid-Atlantic region is also getting hit, not just with snow, but with all kinds of unsettled weather.
Yeah, the tornadoes. Matter of fact, we're recording this on Tuesday, and I just got an alert about tornadoes all over Louisiana again. So, tornadoes, again, I've said it 1,000 times before, I think are the scariest weather phenomenon.
I couldn't survive living in an area where they were a regular risk. It's just too anxiety provoking.
Well, and you know, with hurricanes, you know they're coming. You have time. You know, you have time. Blizzards, you have time.
True.
But tornadoes, no time.
You have time to go shop for bread and milk.
Yeah, you can hunker down, right? And you can prepare, and most of the time you're going to be okay, or you move away from the coast. But tornadoes are just nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anybody in that area in Louisiana and the South this week, we're thinking about you again after the last round went through. Speaking of which, perfect transition.
Mm-hmm.
I have a list here that was put out by Gallup. It was from a Gallup poll, and they do this every year, and it is the top states for happiness. Now, they ranked all the states by happiness level, so I can give you the top states and then the bottom states. So if you were to guess who the happiest in the country are, who would you guess? What states?
Hawaii.
Number one. Good guess. Ding, ding, ding. It's number one every year.
Really? Okay, Hawaii. Then I would say the next happiest state would be, believe it or not, I think, well, maybe not in this order, but up there would be Vermont.
Number 6. Ding, 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 ding. Good job.
Okay, because Vermonters just don't care anymore. They're like the honey badger. They don't give a hoot.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to
marijuana
say,
legal there?
I don't know, probably. Probably. The home of Bernie Sanders. And then maybe like New Mexico.
No. New Mexico is somewhere in the middle. Number 20 is New Mexico.
Oh, all right.
So
that's not bad.
You want me to give you the top 10?
Yeah.
All right. Number 10 is Texas. 9's Minnesota. It's cold there. I don't know why that's 9. They apparently embrace the cold in Minnesota. Number 8's Montana, another state that embraces the cold. Number 7 is Arizona. Number 6 is Vermont. like you said. Number 5 is Colorado because, again, marijuana is legal and they have a lot of skiing and it's a beautiful state.
Are you setting yourself up for something?
Yeah. Maine is number 4. Are you surprised? I was a little surprised that Maine would be number 4.
No, I was going to say Maine. They're kind of like Vermont. They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care about stuff.
And you always hear about the Mainers, and the Mainers always just seem to be enjoying themselves eating lobster. So
it's true. They're far enough away from the rest of the world where they just don't give a hoot.
Yeah. Wait, we apologize to anybody in any state that we're offending with this with this bit. Number 3.
We apologize to anybody anywhere who we might offend because we will offend you.
And we're just surprised you're still listening. Number 3 is South Dakota. Now that did surprise me. I got to be honest, because it's like freaking cold there. And number 2, speaking of cold, is Alaska. So we have Hawaii number 1 and Alaska number 2. And I have a theory about that.
What?
They are the furthest you can get from Washington, D.C.
Oh, yes, I would agree.
I mean, can you get any further? No. Those 2 states are the farthest you get, so maybe they're just not affected as much. But yeah, Hawaii and Alaska. I was surprised at that. Now, let's talk about our states. I live in Florida, and Florida's number 11. And you would think that Florida would be up there on a happy scale. We have pretty good weather down here, except for 3 months of the year, right? So Florida's pretty happy. But we also, if you notice that a lot of wacky criminal stories come out of Florida, like, a Florida man did this or whatever. There's a lot of wacky criminals in Florida. So we have that going for us. Now we'll go down and I'll give you the bottom 10. I'll just go through real quick the bottom 10 states. These are the unhappiest states. Delaware, Mississippi. Rhode Island is 8th from the bottom.
Ooh.
What's going on there in Rhode Island? Is there not a lot of jobs?
No, unemployment has been pretty high. There's a lot of grumpy people in Rhode Island because we're like the redheaded stepchild of New England. We've got like Massachusetts to the north and then
but they're grumpy too.
Connecticut and New York to the south. But our governor talks about this all the time. You've got all the Ivy League schools to the north of us. You've got Harvard. You've got all the health, pretty much the health and pharmaceutical industry is concentrated in Boston and Cambridge. And then you've got New York to the south. And all the people who work in New York live in Connecticut. And they take all of our business. They take all of our college graduates. And we're left with the bottom of the barrel. Unless you live in Little Compton or Newport. Then you're good.
Where does Jessica live? Our friend Jessica, who has interview connections.
Oh,
Newport.
She's in Warwick.
Warwick.
Yeah, she's on the other side of the bay.
Let's add Warwick to that because she's nice.
She's nice, but I don't know. I say Warwick, people are a little grumpy sometimes. Sorry, Jess.
She's there to clean it up.
Yeah.
Rhode Island's number 42 on the list. Louisiana, which they're having a bad day today. So, Alabama, Ohio, Arkansas, Indiana, Oklahoma. Kind of surprised me about Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Other than tornadoes, you kind of think of that as just, a state that things just,
Well, maybe it's the tornadoes.
I don't know. Number 49 is Kentucky, and number 50 is West Virginia. Kentucky doesn't surprise me because once you get out of Louisville and Lexington, it gets pretty rural. There aren't a lot of jobs. They've lost a lot of jobs. It gets pretty poor once you get out, and especially when you get into the mountains, into the Appalachian Mountains, and that's why West Virginia too is on that list. But yeah, so there you go. So I don't know whether you all live in a happy state or a not happy state, or you're just right there in the middle.
Well, I'm happy.
You're one of the happy Rhode Islanders.
I like I've lived in both. I lived in Massachusetts, I lived in New York, and I lived in Rhode Island. I also lived in New Jersey. And I would say living in Little Compton. You know what I love about Rhode Island? I love Little Compton, I love Newport, and I love Providence.
Well, Providence is a nice town.
It's a really nice town. I adore it. There's a lot of great restaurants, a lot of great things to do there, and it's not so crowded or crazy like New York or Boston. I absolutely love Providence.
We went to where'd you send us up to, that fancy college that has the Culinary Institute?
Johnson and Wales.
The museum. Yeah, we went to the Culinary Museum there, which was really cool.
It's great. Providence has actually a fair number of colleges for a small city. It's got a lot of great schools. It's got like Brown University is there, Providence College, Rhode Island College. It's it's kind of a heavy hitter. It's a little underrated.
Well,
People
we
don't
got
really
you
know
beat because we have half the horse people in the country here in Ocala now, right now.
I know.
During these couple months. And I'll tell you what, when you try and go out to eat, you know it. You know they're here. There's a lot more people around right now. And you know what's happened with Ocala is you have not only the eventers, which are coming in greater droves, less and less of them are staying in the Carolinas and more coming down here because there's so many shows down here now. So many events and dressage shows and jumping shows, and they can go do all those individual things and then do events as well. There's a big event at the Florida Horse Park this weekend. So we have all the events, but the endurance riders are here. The carriage drivers are just south of Ocala. So you have all of those things that are all of those different groups of people now that are descending. A lot more dressage coming here. So we're seeing a little bit of everything coming to Ocala now, not just jumpers, which is what it had been 20 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's interesting. There's a lot of things going on. Like when Jennifer took Nigel over riding at the Florida Horse Park to get him out practicing so he's less of a nut when he goes out. And there was a dressage show going on. I saw a lot of the eventers there. The big name eventers were there practicing dressage. None of them looked happy, by the way. Because they were there to do dressage and none of them looked very happy. It's like, oh, we got to do this thing. But yeah, so that's Ocala. And, I got to go down and talked about this on the morning show. I got to go down and see the royal carriage of Gloria Austin's taken out, the gold coach.
What I saw those clips. What was so special about that coach?
Well, it's the only privately owned royal carriage in the world. That carriage was made by Armbruster, which is one of the leading carriage makers in the 1800s. And it was made in 1840 for the Emperor Franz Joseph of Austria.
Oh.
So it was his ceremonial carriage that he used to go out there in parades and, out to see the poor folk. And that's how he would go out. And they would take it out. It's one of the very few that are made for 6 horses. So Gloria Austin, who's a regular contributor to our shows over on the driving show and a friend of ours, and we've been out driving with Gloria. She's taken us out many times. So she was out hunting on the West Coast, and I think in Oregon or Washington State. And for carriages, she's a carriage collector. She has like 200-300 in her collection there that you can go see at this Grand Oak Resort in Florida. And she was in the barn and she saw this carriage that was really dilapidated and stuff. And she thought, that looks like it was a fancy carriage. So she asked the guy, "Can I rip the artificial seat covers off?" And she ripped the plastic seat covers off and discovered a broadcloth that she recognized as that had to be royal at one time. So she started doing research on the insignias that they saw in the carriage, what was left of it, and she discovered that this was the actual carriage from the Emperor Franz Joseph of Austria. It was brought to the United States during World Wars by a movie company, and they had used it in a couple of movies. And she said, "I tried not to get too excited," and then she said, "I offered the guy a mount, and he said, 'Oh, sure, take it. I'd get it out of the barn.'" And she actually sent it to Europe and had it completely restored. And all of the gold you saw in the pictures is 24 karat gold.
Oh, my gosh.
All of the gold on the carriage, including the brocade, the seat cover. I call it the seat cover. It has a fancy name. But it's the thing that goes over the driver's seat that has all the brocade and all of the tassels on it. That's all gold. What is it called? Gold leaf fabric, and all of the tassels are made with gold infused fabric. So everything gold, all of it is plated with 24 karat gold. So needless to say, this cost a fortune to do. And she's only had it out once before, so this is only the second time it's ever come out. And of course, it was beautiful with her 6 white PRE horses. And hundreds of people showed up for this. So it was the only time a state official royal coach had been seen in the United States with 6 horses. So that's why it was a special deal. And of course, she had all of the footmen and the driver and everybody was also in the official. She had replicas made of the outfits that they wore back then in Austria. So everything was authentic. The harness was made. using exact replicas of what they used in the harness and the hardware on the harness of what they used in Austria in 1840. But what was also cool is they had the Duchess was there. I don't know her full name. It's a long name. But there was a Duchess there who was the great-great-great-granddaughter of the Emperor. And it was the first time that she had ever ridden in a royal coach.
Wow.
So there was a lot of cool stuff that went on around it. And then David Saunders, our friend, who used to drive for the Queen, was driving, and he had spent 3 months cleaning the harness, polishing all the brass, polishing all the gold, and polishing the carriage. They spent 3 months getting this ready for that one outing. And it was absolutely a beautiful day. The sun came out. It was just beautiful. It was special. I was glad I was there. It was kind of a historic moment, that will never happen again, probably.
Do you think that it would make its way up to the big carriage driving event in Newport that's held up?
It's going back in the museum where there's a lot of security. The thing
I was going to say back in the vault.
Yeah, because it's worth a fortune with all that gold on it.
Yeah.
When she did this, she says when I did this, gold was $200 an ounce. Now it's like what, 1,600 or something an ounce?
I was thinking this.
Yeah.
So she had to. How much of it was original gold, or is it all new?
It's all new. She had to have all the gold had worn off, so she had to have it completely gold plated.
My.
Yeah. So she shipped it over to Europe to get it done, and then had it shipped back. There's a lot of stories involved with that. I do have a story, though, that I want to tell you. I did mention this on the morning show, but forgive me if anybody's hearing it twice, but it was quite a story. These horses are Spanish PRE horses that her and David Saunders went over to get in Spain. Over the course of years, she went to one breeder. His name was Miguel Cardenas, and she has gotten these horses from him. She owns 10 of them now. These white PRE Spanish horses, beautiful horses. And she has gotten them from this one breeder over years. As he kept breeding more, she would go over and get more. So she has 10 of them, I think.
Oh, gosh.
And the Saturday that we were out there, at the time she was driving these horses, he died.
Oh.
He died the same day. She found out the next morning that he had died that same day, about the same time she had the horses out. I said, I said to Gloria, what a tribute you gave him, right? I mean, this was a tribute you gave him that he knew it was going to happen, and, he didn't get to enjoy the pictures of it, but what a tribute to the man and his horses that they got to do that on the day he died. But, so I think she was probably going to be attending his funeral, I would think. But it was just an incredible story and kind of a good tribute. I said things are meant to happen for a reason. That was meant to happen at that time.
Yeah. Yep. The timing sometimes is divine.
Yep.
You can't. You just have to.
Can't argue with that. So it was just an incredible day. It really was. I was so glad I went down.
Yeah, I can feel the energy, like when you were.
I had goosebumps
when I was listening
the
to you.
time.
I was listening to you when you did it Facebook Live at first, right?
I videoed the whole thing, and you know what? That video's had 120 people share it, and it's now been viewed by almost 8,000 people.
Well, I had my phone right up to my ear because I wanted to hear what you were whispering.
Well, I wasn't going to do a video, and then I thought, well, there's other photographers here, but I didn't see anybody doing a video like that. And then I started to stop that. So, because it took a long time, it probably took 30 minutes to get the horses hitched up, because they'd bring two out and hitch them up, bring two out and hitch them up.
Well, now you know what
time.
Neil feels like.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's why I wanted to, I started and stopped. And Jennifer said, I'm so glad you did that, because when I was getting bored, it stopped and you went on it was doing something else.
Yeah.
And then that property is absolutely beautiful. When you come down to visit, we're going to take you there. It's just stunning.
Okay.
And right now at Grand Oaks, Gloria Austin bought that. Gloria Austin, by the way, is one of the 12 founders of Paychex, the company Paychex back in the 60s.
Yeah.
So that's where her money comes. That's where her fortune comes from. She was one of the 12 founders and then got bought out when it was worth $1 bazillion.
Why can't I come up with something like that?
I know,
want to
you
be
and
the
I are
founder
here
of
podcasting.
Like the rock company. I want to make rocks or something, or I don't know. Like something. It's so simple. Paychecks.
I know. And she was one of the ones responsible for bringing it into other countries, and really, she was the salesperson. So she was truly one of the ones responsible.
She's earned her
for making it what it was. And in that day, if you think about the late 60s, women in that position weren't in that position that she was in. As a that high an executive in a big company like that, there weren't a lot of women in that position in the 60s and early 70s. So she was kind of a rare commodity. And when she sold out, she bought Grand Oaks, this resort, which is 600 acres or something in Central Florida, right above Orlando. It is absolutely beautiful. She had it renovated for horses. It's a horse place. All the drivers go there and spend the winter. There's little houses and barns all over the property, miles of trails, and it's just beautiful. Lakes. You saw the video there. And then she sold it. She actually sold it to the organization that's running it now. But she lives right there on the property. She has rights to live there forever. And so she gets to enjoy it out her backyard without the expense of it. It's a really cool place. So yes, we're definitely taking you, and Buck will love it. The Carriage Museum, if anybody's in Central Florida, I don't care if you're interested in carriages or not, go there. She has carriages dating back thousands of years to the Chinese, all the way up to cars. She takes it right to the transition in cars. The Carriage Museum is one of the best we've ever seen. And everything.
What a wonderful gift to the community.
Yep. There's very few carriage collections that are like that anymore. That really take you through the history of carriages from way back to Chinese days when they were carrying people. She has some of those all the way through time. And she has one of the largest collection of coaches, the big ones, the big coaches. She has one of the largest collections of those in the world. And she's had them all meticulously restored and, probably has spent millions of dollars on it.
If I was a millionairess, I would take something like that, something that I was really passionate about, and create not a museum, but like a place where people can come and share. So if I just had all this money to pump into something, I think I would do exactly the same thing. Take my passion and create something really phenomenal, and then invite the world to come in and share it and be touched by its magic,
And she knows, I agree totally. And I've always wanted to have a carriage collection, but I won't do fancy carriages like this. I've always loved the commercial vehicles. The milk wagon.
Oh, yeah, the livery?
Yeah, the livery stuff, the milk carts and the food carts and the popcorn
and the chuck wagons. You like the chuck wagons too? Something that's got a purpose, like the expedition.
Because they're so
cool.
The
expedition version of
they're
a
cool
wagon.
and they're colorful and they have odd shapes like the fire trucks and the tanker wagons of the day.
Do you think this is a side note, I'm going to take us down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but
okay.
if somebody,
by the way, we do have guests coming up. Hang on.
If somebody stepped up and offered to pay your way through this adventure, would you cross the United States in a covered wagon? Like, let's just say this summer, somebody stepped up and said, all right, Glenn, here's a chunk of money. I want you and Jen to take 2 people or 5 people with you and get a big wagon, a big horse-drawn wagon, and go from coast to coast. And then Facebook Live your experience.
Can I take a shower somewhere every day?
I don't know. Maybe if you pull up with your wagon to someplace that'll let you take a shower.
Can I sleep in a hotel?
It's all up to you. How you make it from coast to coast is up to you. But your method of transportation has to be covered wagon.
What horses. Scares me a little bit about that is several people have done that, and almost everyone I know about in recent time has been hit by trucks or cars.
Oh, crud.
And
really?
Yeah. Almost. There was one that was making his way across the country and has twice took out his wagon. One was a truck and one was a car. People just don't pay attention. And I think some of the roads you end up having to go on, people aren't used to seeing. Like, I grew up in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. There were buggies everywhere. You looked for buggies.
Yeah.
But, if you're not growing up in there and you're coming over a hill and you're not expecting it, and that's one reason I'd be a little concerned.
I'm so naive sometimes. I still think that things like that can happen in this world. And I forget that, there is a world outside of my little brain.
Yeah. And, even people have ridden across the country that we followed have had hairy incidents, and mostly with cars.
Well, remember Kathleen's wild ride?
Yeah. She had a lot of hairy incidents with cars.
Yeah. But she was at least on, she was mounted, so she could go off on trails, and she had a little more room to get out of the actual traffic.
All right, well, we're going to cut off this conversation because we have to get to some guests. Well, right after this commercial from horselovers.com, we are going to Nick Snap with our productivity tip of the month. We all get in a rut when it comes to shopping for horse supplies online. If you have not tried horselovers.com yet, then you are missing out on one of the world's largest online tack shops and all the best brands like Noble Outfitters, Ariat, Turn 2, Tough One, Professional's Choice, Weaver, and many, many more. Visit horselovers.com every day to see their daily deals and flash sales. Horselovers.com has everything for the Western and trail rider. So get on over to horselovers.com today and save.
It's time for our productivity tip of the month with Nick Snap, host of the Make It Snappy Productivity Show.
It's time again for our organizational / productivity segment with Nick Snap of the Make It Snappy Show. Welcome back, Nick. How are you?
I'm doing well, as always. How are you?
I'm okay. A little under the weather. I'm getting this, the cold. But I'm here on Stable Scoop with some really good people, and I'm ready to learn something new. And you've got a new tip for us this week.
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about daily planning and weekly planning because it trips people up a lot. Would you agree?
I'm always tripped up. I'm always flat on my face. Yes.
Well, there's the daily planning, and a lot of people have that nailed. You know, there's been a lot of publications out there about how to plan your day well and do your morning rituals and all that kind of stuff. So most people kind of take what are the 3 things I need to get done today, and check them off your list and you're good. It's the weekly planning that people tend to stumble and blow off and just kind of find themselves in the fray week after week after week. So how do you get around that?
So daily planning, you would say like, this is what my day is going to look like. Like I get up in the morning, I brush my teeth, I have breakfast, I get to work, I check my emails, and then I have my first meeting of the day, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of what your daily plan or itinerary would look like. So this
it seems like a calendar check or even a routine is kind of what you just described. I'm just like, What do you really want to get done for the day? For in this case, for the week, right? So it's what do you want to work on each week? And I think about like, how much time really do you have the things that you need to do each day? And it's been such an iterative process for me to try to figure out how to really dial in when you have a lot of different moving parts with owning your own business. And if you're doing like contract work for somebody and you get put on a project, then how much time you dedicate to that, to the family and all that. It's just a lot of, as everybody has, a lot of balls in the air. So I really like to go back to, okay, what are those repetitive tasks that you do on a day-to-day basis? There's email. Well, back to email. Let's talk about email on the show. There's sales. If you're into sales, there's marketing type stuff you can do. There's errands, spiritual commitments, repetitive things that you do on a day-to-day basis. What are those? And then what's the stuff after all that repetitive stuff that you've already went through? What is the stuff that you really should be doing? The important stuff, the stuff that's really going to move things forward. So I like to think of those different buckets that way. And estimate. There's one way to do it is to estimate how long those things take. What's that?
But these are things that are going to move you forward. So you would use that criteria for prioritizing?
Prioritizing, but going back to goal type stuff, there's things that are going to move you forward, but then there's those things take time, but then there's the repetitive things that you need to do. You have to do every day. So how much time do these things take? And it's interesting because we let our days just come at us, however they come at us a lot of times. And we don't think about like how much time is this stuff taken and how can I make the best use of my time? Is there other orders that I can put the things that I'm doing? Can I put them in a different order to make it more effective? Or do I just continue to let things come at me? And one of the things, and I've said this before, I think to you all, but I track my time, specifically my work time. And I do it not necessarily because I need it. It's almost like a gut check for me nowadays. But if you've never tracked your time, there's some great apps out there to do it. And I would just recommend doing it for like a week, maybe even a day. And just think about how much time you're spending on certain things. It always opens my eyes. So for me, I did a little case study. I have for you all to share, like what I spent. This is just kind of related to work. So last week, I spent 5 hours on my podcast stuff, which was very surprising to me because I thought it was more in the 2-hour range. I spent, it was more of a complicated show, so I guess it's a little bit understandable. I spent 18 hours on my product launch. I spent 3 hours on social media, 4 hours planning, and 18.5 hours on independent contractor work, and 5 hours on other stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, and I look at those numbers. I'm like, well, how does that balance out to what I want to get done? And I saw that I had 18 hours on the product launch. I'm like, that's pretty aligned with what I want to get done. But what that did for me was help me the following week. I could take those hours, like, okay, if I'm spending this much time now on everything that I'm doing for work, how can I take this stuff and do it like at once in larger blocks? Because I work really well that way. Or how could I take maybe a bigger thing like planning my day, for example, and how can I split that up instead of doing like one massive weekly review? How can I split that up throughout the week to make that easier? And so you take these blocks of time now that you know how long you're spending. Is that appropriate? Is the first question, and then if it is, or even if it isn't, well, what should it be? And then how do you put those blocks into your schedule to make it work? Knowing that information is just really, really empowering.
So we go back to the week. Do you start at the smaller level, like start with, this is what I have to get done today, and then plan out your week from there? Or do you start at a higher level and say, these are the things that have to happen this week, and then break it down into the day?
I always start at the higher level. Like, what are those things that, because you got to really figure out, like, what do you absolutely need to get done that's important? And if you don't know how long that kind of stuff's taking, then you fall back on, well, how much time do I have? Routinely, if you know you're going to be in your boss's office for an hour and a half or 2 hours every other day, then make a note of that. And how many hours do you want to work for that particular week? Sometimes it's in your control, sometimes it's not. And just lining all that stuff out to think about, like, really, what are these different things that I'm doing? And if I need to get this big thing done, how long should it take, and when do I need to get it done? It's just it's a broader look at planning not just your day, because in your day it's just so micro. You're just in it. You try to knock things out and you move. But at the end of the week, you might look back and like, oh, dang it, I really wanted to get that project done. I've been blowing it off for 3 weeks. I know that's going to help myself and my company so much more than all the little things that I did. I thought I was being productive, but was I really? Because I'm still kind of where I was 2 weeks ago.
Let's talk about intentions.
Mm-hmm.
My intentions are great. Right. I have good intentions every morning to make a list of things I have to do that day.
Yeah.
And I don't. And I was trying to figure out, I was just listening to you guys talk, and I'm trying to think, why don't I? Because every morning I say I'm going to make a list. But then every morning I start doing, and I never make the list. So now, obviously, I get things done, right? I mean, Horse Radio Network's doing pretty good. And I do get things done, but I don't get everything. You know what I think it is? And that's what I was just thinking, and it may sound stupid. I think it's because, for me, if I make the list, I never get a tenth of what's on the list done each day. And it's depressing to me at the end of the day to have all of those things undone. Even though it's great to have that as a starting point the next day, I think it's a psychological thing where I'm just depressed to have the things on the list at the end of the day.
Oh, totally. You hit the nail on the head. You don't, that's the problem with these lists, is we're always so poor at estimating how much we think we can get done. So whole other topic is reasonable estimates. And that can look back to tracking your time, right?
But I often look at the list too as things I have to get done at some point. These things need to get done. So it's not just a list of today. I put them on the list so I don't forget to do them, period, right? So I just don't forget to do them at all. And, maybe, and I know about prioritizing lists, and I still handwrite mine, by the way, because I've tried every program I can find on the computer, and I suck at opening up those programs and actually writing something in them, because I already have, I'm like Helena, and I know Helena. She has 30 screens open 30 tabs open when she's working on stuff. You do, and I do too. And the last thing I want to do is have another tab.
You're going to get distracted.
So I write it down on paper. I still do it.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I do
You're
my
a great
list
candidate
on
for the bullet journal. Y'all know about the bullet journal?
No.
Oh, well, let me tell you about the bullet journal. It's really like the analog version of all the digital things that we're doing nowadays. And there's so many different ways you can do a bullet journal, but it's in one notebook, or in your case, it's a piece of paper that might not qualify for a bullet journal, but it's all right there. And there's a system for finding stuff quickly and lining it out and planning your week so that you're not overwhelmed by the tech. Because you're right, you get on there and you see all this stuff and you're like, oh, I'm just not going to plan my day or whatever. I'm going to go on Facebook. It's a good.
He knows us too well because Alina and I are on at 4:30 in the morning chatting on Facebook.
We are. I'm up. What are you up? I'm planning my day. Well, I want to apply this philosophy to, let's say, a barn manager or a trainer, a professional trainer.
Right.
She may decide for this particular week, X number of horses are going to be showing on Sunday, and some need some fine tuning, others need to be conditioned. They have to work on fitness. So really a trainer's version of a bullet journal may either be a book like a day planner, but a lot of times it's a whiteboard. So they'll have a weekly plan somewhere, hopefully written down, or at least in black and white, whether digitally or on paper. But then they take their individual days and they put it up on the whiteboard. These horses need to be ridden. These are the lessons that I have for the day. These are the horses that are on meds. These are horses that need to be wrapped when they're done riding, etc. So, but what happens is before you can actually sit, you come in the morning and you write on the whiteboard what's to be done that day. You do need to take the time to digest the week and plan it out. So would a bullet journal be good for the weekly planning and then you can pull pieces out of it for your actual hands-on, day to day, this is my to-do list?
That'd be an excellent strategy, really. Okay. I'm thinking about what Glenn said. He doesn't even take the time he's got all the great intentions of coming in and planning his day. So the weekly plan must just be like an outer space for you, Glenn. Like it's just not even in your radar,
plan.
Right?
That's like having an annual plan.
But Glenn,
that's like having a 5-year plan, like most businesses are supposed to have.
I know.
You know why I gave up on the 5-year plan? Because in the third week, it's out the window. You can do a 5-year plan for every month for the rest of your life, and in the third week, in my experience, in my businesses, it's always been out the window.
You just need to be directionally correct. But I think what you said, your problem with these lists and everything, Glenn, is that you get overwhelmed and depressed about it. I'm not sure if that's your problem so much as that you don't have accountability.
Because he's the boss.
Nobody pushing you to get that done every day. You got to have somebody in your face. But
I do have accountability to pay the bills and eat.
Sure, but that's still on you. I found the biggest, thinking like a different direction here, but the biggest difference for me when you're the boss versus an employee is you got a boss holding you accountable theoretically. Some bosses just let you go, but finding creative ways to hold yourself accountable to do those things that you need to do to be more effective, but you just don't do it.
Apparently, I wasn't very good at that either because I got fired from a few jobs along the way. So I wasn't very good with bosses either.
Authority in general, accountability. Glenn just likes to do what he wants to do.
That's right. But
that's right.
And I know how important this is. And I think we all do. I think those that do it and don't do it both know how important it is, right? We know that we need that list. And the week, so it usually goes by a week. I'll be really good for a week. And it does help having the things written down. You actually get through the list better. And you'll get more done writing it down. But then
more intentional,
but
hopefully.
Then why don't I? I'm a mess.
Yep. You are. Yep,
you're supposed to come to my defense there. One of you.
I'm a mess too, so maybe that's your defense. Misery loves company.
Yeah, you are. You and I are a lot alike in many ways. Unfortunately for you, but
next month maybe we'll talk about how to make an effective accountability partner, because I have some really, really good strategies for that as well. So maybe fix your mess.
And I do hear people, I do see all these business people and fellow podcasters and things who have accountability partners, and they're going to mind, what are those called? Where they all get together. It's like a mind.
Masterminds.
Yes,
they're doing masterminds. And I look at all those and said, I always say to myself, I don't have time to go to a mastermind. I'm too busy running the business. But,
it's true. You're too busy to, like, how many things can you end the sentence with? I'm too busy to, and then fill in the blank. Yeah. It's true. But really the idea of this is so that you're less busy. And that you're more productive.
It's counterintuitive, isn't
I'm not arguing with you guys. I'm beating myself up here.
I'm really good with making lists that I have a general idea of what I need to do during the week because, well, first of all, I'm a creature of habit, like a lot of horses. You know, we like our routines because then you can manage all these things that you have to do because it's like putting it on some kind of assembly line. So I'm pretty good at having an idea of what I need to get done during the week. And then in the morning while I'm having my coffee, I have a piece of paper out, scrap paper, and I start to write down the things that I think I can get done in that day. And then if I think I can do 10 things, I actually end up writing 5.
That is perfect.
So you don't have the problem I have where you're depressed at the end of the day.
No, because it requires thought. So for an extra half of a minute of thinking, you're like, all right, I want to go get hay today, but I don't really need to get hay today. So I'm not going to put that down. And sometimes if I actually do get something additional done from my list, I put it on the list retroactively. I put it on there and then I cross it off. But
feels good.
It feels really good, but it's the thought process and it doesn't take that long. So my little paper to-do list for the day, it feels really good. It's done. And then the next day I can do a new list. But what I'm bad at is how do I know what I have to put on each day's list? So I need some work there.
Yeah, you'd love the bullet journal. What I'll do is one of my friends, Anna Cragen, did a webinar on how to do a bullet journal recently. So I'll send you all the link and maybe you can link to it in the show notes.
In the show notes. That'd be great. I'll put it on my list to watch it.
You like
you
it?
Won't use it. I was like, I'll put it on my
I didn't.
list.
I just got that. Put in your yes. Thanks.
Glenn writes his list on toilet paper.
How does anything get done in the HRN?
Jennifer says to me, we did 62 episodes last month.
Wow.
62 episodes. And it's going to be more this month. And at the end of every week, she says, I don't know how you got anything done. But I do. I mean, we just signed up new sponsors. And it gets done. It's just not in an organized, orderly fashion.
Glenn, I'm sure you've used this before, but you are a horse of a different color.
I am. Yep. And I don't want to hear any comments from Helene about what color that is.
Oh my God, I'm biting my tongue so bad.
I knew that was coming.
So bad.
Thank you, Nick. Where can people find you and more of what you do? And you're actually a consultant too, right? We are getting thousands of dollars worth of advice here free, but if you would like more personal advice, you can talk to Nick too, right?
Well, you could have. I don't do coaching anymore. I am taking all that off the table.
Okay, take all that back. You can't talk to Nick anymore. He doesn't care about you.
What are you doing, though? What does that 18 hours involve?
Right. So I decided I was going to focus all my energy onto something on my business that scales and has gotten a lot of attention lately. And it is centered around this idea of effective accountability. So there's a gap between what entrepreneurs say they're going to do and what they actually do. And my goal these days is to close that gap. So I'm developing a platform. It's a membership site called Real Accountable, realaccountable.com. And we're in our second beta round. It's going really, really well. I have a board of advisors. I have access to investors and mentors and all the different people, and people that join the platform will have access to the same resources as well. So it is, it's going to be a game changer for early stage entrepreneurs who want to scale. And
boy, you notice we weren't asked to be on that board of advisors. He knows us too well.
No. I don't know what I would advise.
Yeah, I would have forgot to put the meetings on my list and never showed up. It's like,
but
well, good luck with it. We wish you the best.
Yeah, what's the website? What is it again?
It's realaccountable.com. You can apply to be in the program if you want to learn more. And you can always listen to me on my podcast at makeitsnappyshow.com.
Well, now, next guest that we have coming on the show, I'm very excited about because when we started the Horse Radio Network, the Chronicle of the Horse was one of the first media partners we had. And I was so happy because the Chronicle of the Horse is the big daddy of newspaper magazines in the United States, right? I mean, for all of us that especially lived in the Northeast, the Chronicle was it. And back then, if you remember right, there wasn't Facebook or anything. The Chronicle forums were huge because that was the only real the real big forum for the horse world was the Chronicle forums. Now, they were kind of negative, but the Chronicle forums were huge.
They were positive too. There were a lot of very knowledgeable people there.
It's like Facebook now. You had both.
They Yeah.
Yeah. So the Chronicle forums were huge back then. And of course, we got the Chronicle for years. When I met Jennifer, she was getting the Chronicle. And, it was just a big deal that the Chronicle would work with Little Old Horse Radio Network and carry our shows. And they still do to this day. So we really appreciate the Chronicle. And we came up with, I think this was your idea, wasn't it? To do kind of the day in the life of an editor of a major magazine. What's their day like? What's it like to be an editor of the Chronicle? So we have Beth Raisin coming on with us. She's the editor of the Chronicle of the Horse, and we're going to find out what it's like in the day of an editor. Well, hi, Beth. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
We've been working with you guys actually since we started the Horse Radio Network 9 years ago. Our shows have been over on your website for the last 9 years, and we've had many people on from the Chronicle, and we're so happy to have you on. But we wanted to do something a little different. Most of the time, we're talking about your content or an article or a story, or we're digging a little deeper into something that you covered. Or we did a really great series with you years ago about the history. They went back. We dealt with someone there who went back once a month into the historical records of your 100 years and would pull a year out, and we would take a look at the highlights from that year, which was fascinating, by the way. That was really cool. We should do that again. But Beth, we want to talk to you today about what's your life like as the editor of one of the oldest established magazines in the horse world. What do you do every day? What's the day in the life of Beth?
I'm probably the only consistency is that there is no average day. Every day is pretty different.
That's probably why you've been there so long.
Yes. How long have you been there, by the way, Beth? When did you start?
I actually started in 1995 as an intern.
Oh, wow. So you worked your way up through the ranks and now do the edit. So what does the editor do? And I think a lot of people have misconceptions about the exact job of an editor at a magazine.
Well, most of it is working with the team. I think that's one of the reasons I've stayed here so long is we have a really fantastic team of passionate, intelligent people who are just a lot of fun to work with. And we get together every Monday morning and we, take a look at what's happened over the weekend, what's in the headlines, what's coming up, and sort of decide what needs to get covered, where is it going to go, what's going to go in the magazine versus the website. And those are just, sort of, the quicker as at the moment news stories. We obviously have larger planning sessions about features and the likes and our Untacked lifestyle magazine, but there's just a lot of decisions about what to cover and where is the best place for that to be covered, as well as who's going to cover it.
Or I shouldn't say how often. How far in advance do you plan your content? I know you're still putting out a print version of the magazine, so you really do have to plan very, I don't want to say focused, but very carefully. So how does that work? Do you have a calendar?
Because we plan a week ahead. You're a little further than that, I think.
Yeah. Well, we've had a weekly planning session annually. The last few years, we've met in December and tried to map out as much of the coming year as we can for both the print magazine and our Untacked, which is also a print lifestyle magazine that comes out 6 times a year.
Which I love.
And also, planning some general conceptual things for the website and how we're going to approach our web stories.
We should try that.
Yeah, we should try planning. Yeah, maybe that would be a good idea.
Planning ahead.
We've been doing this.
Of course, in a news organization, things come up, and you have to be willing to be flexible and change and add things. But so we really just plan the feature stories, and then the news stories. We're always keeping our eye out to say, did somebody different win a Grand Prix, or someone we haven't written about, or is there some other story we could tell here that hasn't been told before.
Yeah, and plus we're writing about horses here, so there's always a level of unpredictability simply because of the nature of the animal.
Sure.
Do they come to you like on TV where they go to the editor and say, "We want to do this story," and then you have you say yes or no? Is that how it works?
I love it when people come with story ideas. I mean, sometimes we as editors sit down and come up with some story ideas. Sometimes we do it in group meetings, and sometimes we do get employees or freelancers who have story ideas, and those are usually really good ones. Especially because some of our writers are in the field at horse shows almost every weekend, so they're really some of the best ones to have ideas about something that needs to be touched on.
What is it like trying to meet deadlines when you have so many moving parts? And you guys, we've got all different kinds of disciplines, and you cover quite a lot of them. So how do you manage to meet your deadlines, cover everything that you need to cover without setting your hair on fire?
We've not missed a deadline yet, even, but I think we definitely have to have a good sense of humor about it, and we try to keep the importance in perspective of that, these things need to happen, and sometimes we're trying to meet the deadline, but we really feel like something needs one more quote or one photo that's a little bit better than the one we have, and sometimes you can make those things happen, and sometimes you have to do the best that you can because your time is up, and so that's sort of part of the fun of it, is always trying to get the best out there within a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time scrolling through equestrian photos for my job, a lot. And there's so many out there that you could literally scroll forever until you find the perfect one. And there's at some point you have to say, this is good enough. Do you find that with the expansion of horse photography, or everybody can there's a low barrier to entry into photography these days. And so therefore there's a lot of horse photos out there. Do you find that you have too many to choose from, or you're still spending a lot of time hunting for the right image that helps tell your story?
It would be pretty rare that we would have too many to choose from. Because we cover a lot of competitions, we're often in a situation where if we don't, we will take our own photos if we have a staff writer at the event. But if we don't, or if our camera freezes when the winner goes by, then we will be looking for the show photographer. And some of those photographers, most of them are really awesome, and we work with them on a regular basis. But every now and then, we'll cover a show that's, not, like a one-off show that happens once a year. And sometimes the photographers just don't have, there will be one photographer there and they just don't have a nice image of the winning horse. And there's not a lot we can do about that. So that's one of our biggest challenges is with, competitions that have photographers that are not the ones that we work with on a regular basis, but have, probably a new or novice photographer.
Yeah. Yeah.
At AHP last year at the American Horse Publications meeting, one of the conversations was, and I know one of the speakers that I sat in on said that print is doing better than ever and expanding. And is that true? I mean, where are you guys at as far as the print magazine as opposed to the online?
We've had a steady increase in subscriptions over the last 3 or 4 years after a decline that had happened previous to that. But for the last 3 years,
that could have been just economy related, though. That was about the time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It's been really strong, though. I mean, we've had a lot of interest. We've tried to tackle issues that we think are important to the industry that would really engage anybody who's involved in these sports. And, we look at it as our combined audience because we have a really, really vibrant web presence. We're the #1 non-racing horse website, and our overall network reaches 1.3 million people between the print and the digital subscriptions and our web and social media presences. So we sort of look at it as the whole package, but our print for sure is on the rise with subscribers, and we also have a very strong interest in advertising in the print product.
Do you put everything from print on the web, or are there a lot of things that are in print that you don't put on the web?
We do not.
Okay.
Our web content is mostly unique content.
Oh, got it. Good.
It's quicker, shorter, more immediate stories that we feel are more appropriate for the web. But we do now and then put some of our favorite stories online. But for the most part, it's entirely different experiences of what you read in the magazine versus the website.
What do you see 10 years down the line with magazines in general, not just Chronicle, but? I think that there is an interest in retaining the print product. We have a new app that came out last year, and we're about to launch a redesign of our website that's going to be much easier to use on mobile devices. But
I think that that's those are really important things to do, but I also think that the experience that people have with print is something that is just a very different experience. And I know as somebody who spends the day looking at a computer screen all day, when I get home, if I'm going to take a break, I would rather pick up something in print just because my eyes have been on a screen all day.
Right.
And
It's why I've stopped playing video games, Beth.
Right.
I'm just too tired at night to look at the screen anymore.
Yeah, me too. I go for something in print just to get my feet back on the ground as well.
And of course, they tell you it helps you sleep better and all of those things. So
this is true. I mean, I've actually I have to keep my phone downstairs now, so I'm not reading articles. And, that time right before you go to bed is such a great time to, brush up on a little bit of this or a little bit of that. But I've found that having the phone downstairs has actually helped me to sleep better. So now I just read a book. Remember those books, Glenn?
Yeah, geez. We watch Big Bang Theory. That's how we fall asleep every night. So.
Beth, what have you seen as the biggest change since starting at the Chronicle way back when to now in terms of the community, the horse community?
The biggest change in the horse community?
Yeah.
I think I'm not sure there has been that big of a change. It seems like a pretty, a group of people that don't change real fast. But, we've certainly seen the sports change. We've seen a lot of change in the sports, a lot of additional championships. I mean, every single year there's just more and more to cover. There just are national championships in almost every single discipline that didn't exist 20 years ago. So that's one thing that we're constantly struggling with is how do we cover the little man who's winning at the regional level and still get all these national championships covered, because there's more horse shows and everything going on than there ever used to be.
Yeah, that's true, especially in the jumper world, and there's more money than there ever has been too. Yeah. What about WAG? You got WAG coming up, of course, that you guys are kind of involved. Your owner is also involved in Tryon and bringing the WEG to Tryon, which we're covering with our 2018 WEG show. So, are you guys excited that it's back and going to be covering it here a little closer to home?
We are. We're thrilled that it's in the United States, and obviously, of course, that it's at Tryon, which is owned by Mark Bellissimo, who also owns the Chronicle and the Winter Equestrian Festival in Colorado Horse Park. And, Mark has been a fantastic person to work with. He's really brilliant and has brought a lot of energy and great ideas to the Chronicle. And just
to
having
the horse
experienced
industry.
That, he's also created the Central Park Horse Show. He tends to have great success with things that he touches. So I'm sure that the WEG is going to be fantastic.
Well, we're looking forward to it, and I know you guys will be there because we sat right beside you at the last WEG. So you'll be there covering it, and it's a little close at home, a couple hours down the road for you now. So we're looking forward to seeing you there, and thank you for your support of the Horse Radio Network over all the years as well. And we've enjoyed working with everybody at the Chronicle of the Horse.
Thank you so much, Glenn.
Fairfield Inn and Suites North by Marriott Lexington is the ideal hotel for you, as they are the closest hotel to the Kentucky Horse Park. They have the most spacious guest rooms and suites in the area, and they're only 4 miles from downtown Lexington. Fairfield Inn and Suites North offers complimentary breakfast, free Wi-Fi throughout the hotel, free parking, a business center, an indoor swimming pool and jacuzzi, an outdoor patio with grill, laundry facilities, and much more. You get hungry, Cracker Barrel is located right next door, and there are 4 other dining options available within walking distance for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Of course, Lexington is known for the Kentucky Horse Park, University of Kentucky, Keeneland, and the historical Kentucky Bourbon Trail. Enjoy a terrific hotel experience while you're touring Lexington. There's no denying that the Lexington North Fairfield Inn & Suites is the best value in town and will meet all your hospitality needs. Just Google Fairfield Inn North Lexington and make your reservations today. Now, there's no Tack and Habit this week, but we will have Tack and Habit coming up. We met a bunch of companies at ADA that we're going to do interviews with, as well as I have exciting news. HorseLovers.com has agreed to another full year of products going out for review.
Woohoo!
Now, that means that if you are not an auditor yet, you should become an auditor. Look at some of the dollar amounts of products that people got to review for free. And it's all by becoming an auditor. We had people with $400 boots that were sent to them.
Dude, I'm bummed out about those boots. I get nothing anymore, just so you guys know. It's all going to our auditors. So
now,
you're like my children.
We are going to
sacrificing
we are
going
to give the hosts kind of first dib this year because we kind of slighted everybody last year, the hosts. So,
that's okay.
So,
that's all right.
We are, but it's so cool that the auditors got to do that. It was a very popular segment, and people like hearing other people like them review products. So that's what we're going to do.
Well, you know what? We have really good, knowledgeable
They did some better
auditors.
reviews than we did, to be honest.
They did do, I know, which is you got to take one for the team. You got to let the people who can do the job do the job.
And they were really good.
Our auditors did a great job.
Well, they're going to get to do it again. So if you're not an auditor yet, get on over like right now to stablescoop.com, click on the auditor banner, and become an auditor for as little as $1 a month. Let me tell you, some of those auditors got products that will pay for their auditorship for the next 20 years. It was really a valuable thing, and we're coming up with a real fair, fun way to assign the products this year. So we definitely want you to be involved in that and to become an auditor to have the potential to get one of these products and review it on the show. And that's how you do that. And thanks to horselovers.com for agreeing to do another year's worth, which, to be honest, is a major effort on their part. It's a lot of products to ship out. It's a lot of coordination with companies. There's a lot of work on their part to make it happen. So thanks to them for making it happen again this year. And become an auditor today. You're missing out if you don't. Plus, you're just missing out on the cool part of being an auditor, which is the auditor room and all the conversations and all the fun. And we ask auditor polls. All the listener polls we do are done in the auditor room. The auditors the auditors get to ask questions to the experts we have on, and they're jumping, and Mary Kitzmiller, and all of that's done through the auditor room. That's where all the cool things happen. We had in a Super Bowl, I don't know if you noticed that the other night, we were all in the auditor room having a Super Bowl conversation during the Super Bowl the other night. It was like being with family in there. It was kind of neat. Yeah, they were saying bad things about New England, so it's probably good you weren't in there.
Oh, yeah. I was sitting around the fire with actual family, with real family, lamenting the impending loss. I thought they were going to lose.
Did you hang out to the end? Did you hang in?
Well, here's the funny thing is, Rachel's new baby, Sophie, likes to be bounced on Brody's jolly ball. I got this huge jolly ball for him. It's one of those, paddock balls.
Yeah.
The big blow up ones that you can sit on. So if you sit on that and bounce her on it, she loves it. It soothes her. She falls asleep. So we had that at the ready just in case, because this is only her second time, being out of the house. She's such a little wee thing. But so we had the jolly ball out and she had fallen asleep. So I'm sitting on the jolly ball just for kicks, And I sat on the jolly ball, and I think it was that was when New England scored. They got on the map. Then I got off the jolly ball and something happened. They fumbled. Then I got back on the jolly ball. New England scored again. So it turned out that every time I sat on the jolly ball, New England scored. So
it was
everybody
all
in my house,
you did it.
They wouldn't let me get off the jolly ball. I had to sit through the whole overtime on that stupid jolly ball. And sure enough, they won. It was hysterical.
That was probably the best Super Bowl ever. Game was.
It was a pretty good game. It was a pretty good game.
I almost gave him went to bed. Jennifer did. She gave up and went to bed when it was 25-point lead, and I thought, oh well, heck, I'm awake. I'll just hang with it. Yeah, I'm glad I did.
Yeah,
I was always rooting for Atlanta. Sorry to say, but I was rooting for Atlanta.
You know what? I don't even care who wins. I just want to watch a good football game.
It was true. And I ate way too much dip. So by the end of the game, I was feeling like, oh. So now tell us what's going on over on that Newport show.
That Newport show, let's see. We have somebody exciting coming up this week. Oh, we're talking about the Newport Art Museum. Check this out. The Newport Art Museum, which is a really cool place. It's a museum, but it does all kinds of community programs and everything. They just got a $5 million donation from an independent a private anonymous benefactor.
Whoa.
$5 million. Can you believe that?
What are they going to do with that?
You're going to find out if you listen to that Newport show this week. And we've got a bunch of stuff coming up. We're just still getting ready for the big wedding expo in about 2 weeks. We'll be talking to brides and grooms.
Remote, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Remotes
are always so much fun. Are
you
going to get all dolled up?
I don't want to get all dolled up because I just don't want to get all dolled up. But I do want to eat the snacks that they're going to have.
Oh, that's right, because they all get to try because caterers are trying to get their business.
Well, and then they have the bakers who come with their wedding cookies. And
you're going to get
all the little
cake.
favorites. I want to come away with some swag. I'll be like, "Hi, do you want to be in our podcast? What do you got for swag? I'll trade you."
And then have Buck going around saying, "I'm getting married soon. Can I try all your treats?" Fib a little.
He would totally do that.
Yeah,
we are not above the lying and cheating.
I know he would. Because he's like me. We'd be going around together.
Totally. 2 peas in a
55
pod.
55 pieces of cake later.
He's a salami guy. He likes salty and savory.
Oh, well, I'll have the cake then. I'm not allowed to eat it, but I would eat it anyway. Oh,
yeah,
please.
I'm the sugar girl. I like the sweets. He likes the salty. So it's good. I never have to worry about someone stealing my goodies.
When you can't have cake or sugar for a long time, you learn which of the things are that you crave the most. And I have determined it's chocolate cake. With good chocolate cake with chocolate icing is what I crave the most.
Chocolate cake, not just chocolate.
No, chocolate cake with chocolate icing is what even above ice cream and everything else. Chocolate cake with chocolate ice cream.
You know what? I have two secret kryptonite like things that I can't resist. They are those little Welch's fruit snacks.
Really?
They're gummies. Oh my God.
I didn't know anybody kids ate those.
They sell them in the big, huge boxes from like BJ's or Costco. I could literally finish an entire box in 2 days if you left me with them unsupervised. And the other, even bigger than the Welch's, cupcakes.
Oh yeah, cupcakes are good. You know why I figured out cupcakes are good? It's the ratio with a slice of cake, the ratio to icing isn't as great. So with a cupcake, you got a ton more icing than you do if on a cake, right?
And it's even better when you have some creamy goodness in the middle of the cupcake that's not the same as the icing. It has to be different.
Yes.
Than the icing. It's like a honeymoon in your mouth.
And having grown up on tasty cakes, the little tasty cake cupcakes, and I even thought they were good because the icing was
dying
good.
Right now. I'm dying.
I know, we got to go.
My mouth is
We're
watering.
leaving everybody hungry. Thank you for joining us, everybody. It's That Newport Show. If you want to hear all about that, what's coming up. And also you can find all of our shows on the Horse Radio Network app in the App Store, iOS or Android. Just download Horse Radio Network app. It's free. It's easy to use. All 12 of our shows are there now. The WEG Show this week coming up. We are on the 10th it comes out. This will be our 3rd episode. The 2nd episode was eventing. And this episode, we're going to be announcing our Spotlight Driver, and we're going to be talking all about driving on this episode. So that's what's coming up on the WEG Show. That's it for us. Thanks, Helena.
That's plenty. We'll be back next week. Until then, happy scooping, everyone.